Good morning, and welcome to the final day of Phenom Industry Week 2024. I'm Bill Ventiker, your host for today's sessions focused all on the financial services industry. The financial sector employs over 6 million people in the U.S. and faces a unique HR challenge that includes the need for a diverse and tech-savvy workforce, stringent regulatory compliance, and rapid digital transformation. HR in financial services is critical for ensuring regulatory compliance, developing that skilled workforce, and fostering a culture of continuous learning and innovation. Today, we'll dive into the strategies for attracting, developing, and retaining skilled talent in this highly regulated and rapidly evolving sector. Please join us in the chat and ask questions. And remember, all sessions from the entire week will be available on demand an hour after our event ends today, so you can share these valuable insights with your teams and go back and check out some of the great guidance and stories we shared earlier in the week. Our first speaker today is Amber Lawrence, the Associate Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at the Mortgage Bankers Association. The MBA is the leading advocate for the real estate finance industry, representing mortgage companies, commercial banks, and thrifts. They focus on promoting fair and equitable mortgage lending practices and supporting the development of a robust housing market. Let's welcome Amber as she discusses the importance of DE&I initiatives in attracting and retaining talent across the financial services industry.
Welcome, everybody, to day 5 of Industry Week. I am very happy today on Financial Services Day to have with me Amber Lawrence, the Associate Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion from the Mortgage Bankers Association. She's going to talk to us a little bit about the market, some of the things that she sees going on, and some of the ways that her organization is helping people kind of tackle the challenges of hiring today and plan for the future as well. So Amber, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this. You have been at this for a little while now, over 16 years of experience in the mortgage finance industry, working with nonprofit associations. And in your current role, maybe just give us a little bit of background on the Mortgage Bankers Association, but also what you are doing in your current role to kind of help support some of these organizations.
Sure. And thank you for having me here today. When you said 16 years, it kind of like, oh my goodness, the time has flown by for sure. So I appreciate the introduction. And I'll start by giving some context about the MBA and the Mortgage Bankers Association. We're the only association representing all segments of the real estate finance industry. And we unite the interests of diverse stakeholders from Main Street to Wall Street, spanning all aspects of real estate finance, including commercial, multifamily, and residential. And how we go about unifying those is to represent the interests of our members, is through our belief of our mantra, if you will, one voice, one vision, and one resource. And with that, I have the pleasure of having oversight of both our internal and external, or our member facing, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And what I'll center on for today regarding our mission is our key initiatives and strategies that are amplified through member participation. So that's how we work with our members. And those key initiatives have been coined as building on inclusion. And those strategies, we've outlined them into three different pillars. The first being expanding the diverse pool of candidates entering the industry and retaining diverse candidates to progress into leadership positions. The second, identifying strategies for lenders to promote and access financial education, namely for underrepresented borrowers, but also to expand the pool of diverse and qualified home buyers, as well as multifamily owners through financial education and literacy. And rounding us out with that third pillar is promoting supplier diversity in our industry.
And these initiatives, the three pillars, how do they kind of reflect into the real estate finance industry with your members and also the communities that you're serving?
Sure. And you'll hear me say this throughout our discussion today, but the work that we do is people-centered and trust-centered. So to be successful in any industry, but especially real estate finance, is to have trust established in a continuous building of that trust relationship. So I'll take it a step further. This industry thrives off of relationships, and historically, the majority of the people who have been in positions of leadership and decision-making capacities are not always of the same backgrounds and life experiences of all of the communities being served. So it's necessary to have a workforce and leaders that all communities can relate to. Also to respect and to trust the communities as well. And you've got to get to know the people you serve to determine their needs and how to best impact the community. And it sounds simple, right? It sounds like, oh, that's easy, but it isn't, because it takes time. And like other industries, we're facing a shift in our workplaces. And those leaders and executives that I mentioned that are member companies as well are retiring or even exiting the industry for other reasons. And they're taking with them this institutional knowledge and decades of experience. And we see this and we say, we need to share the responsibility of expanding and sometimes even creating that pool of candidates who enter the industry. And it doesn't stop there. So we've got to support them, not only entering the industry and all the way through to leadership and executive roles. So we get that institutional knowledge kind of replaced. And we do this work with programs of our own, including mentorship, advocacy, even specialized training, and through partnerships with other trade groups and affinity-based organizations.
Yeah, it's interesting because we were just talking about that in my personal life about the role of trust in handing your money over to anybody, right? Especially, when you talk about those folks who have that depth of knowledge where like they don't need to go to somebody else to answer a question, right? And so those relationships are strong. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense that there's a huge gap as those folks are retiring, and that's one of the areas of focus that is a challenge kind of for this industry. Besides that, what are some of the other areas where you're seeing kind of major challenges for this financial services sector for bringing in the right talent into these different jobs?
Yeah. Financial services is so broad, but especially mortgage finance. I mean, everything is in the news, right? You can deduce what you want from that. But I think ultimately we're still realizing the impact that the pandemic has had on our industry. We saw an incredible volume, people buying homes, people relocating throughout the country, people working from home and not in offices, and how that impacts commercial real estate and the ability to lease. And all those things have really impacted the workforce. And our industry is cyclical, and that volatility can be really, really challenging for people and for businesses. And organizations, and you've seen it, I'm sure, have had to make choices that have an unfortunate impact on where and how people work, and even if people are working, unemployment being a thing, reduction in force. So that's why specialized training and education that I mentioned before, and even more so too, some of the work that I'm doing with some of our partner organizations is creating awareness of what the real estate finance industry does and who we serve very early on. So like high school and college, and even sometimes elementary and middle school, if we want to get that granular. And it's so important teaching, financial education. We've partnered with an author. Her name is Twala Lockett Jones, and she wrote a book called Princess Mackie Buys a House, and it's targeted towards children like in that elementary age level, and it teaches them about how to buy a house. And I think about, I wish I would have had that kind of information that early on. And in turn, what we found anecdotally is that the parents and the community in which that are raising these children are also benefiting from that kind of very, very easy to understand process of purchasing a home. And again, like I said, it's through a children's book. And I've also had conversations with college students who've had their own preconceived notions about what our lenders and our servicers do and who mortgage companies are. And they immediately think, oh, that's not an industry for me. And that's for a variety of reasons. And that, again, that's centered on a lot of the work that we do, not only with the DE&I team, but HR teams. We work to dispel those myths and provide those opportunities to engage and connect them to industry people and to resources like the book that I mentioned.
Yeah, it's an interesting approach from an educational perspective, and it's certainly something that I think, not just this industry, but many times coming out of college, you have preconceived notions about, oh, that's what this job means, and what my skills aren't going to be useful for something in this industry. But with the shift in the way that people work, with the shift in the way that people shop, with the shift in the way that people even view homes or property or things like that, there's certainly a shift in skills that are desired in this industry. So, what are some of the skills that you see kind of coming to the forefront as far as really being required or in high demand in the industry these days?
Sure. I'll start broadly. So the easy answer to this question is probably keeping up with and staying abreast on like the new technologies being developed, AI especially, or artificial intelligence. And it can be so useful, right, to assist with our productivity. And I even use it. I'm cautious with how rapid the development is, though, and it's impacting the perceived necessity of certain jobs. And I think ultimately we can't abandon the people focus in employment spaces in our approach to hiring. It's no secret that many of the industries that are out there, including our own and including in my own office, we have a multi-generational workforce and a workplace. And we've got to ensure that individual contributors and leaders are able to connect in some of the most basic ways, like phone calls, face-to-face meetings, emails, and more. There's some disparity on how the different generations value each of those things. And we've got to meet the moment on establishing expectations that consider the way people access technology, their capacity, their capabilities, and their lived experiences. And if you'll give me a moment, I read an article today that talked about a recent report of how leaders want more and better in-person staff meetings. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that's incredibly basic, right? Of all the advancements that we've had, it's like the face-to-face thing that kind of resonates. And further with that article, it highlighted that not everybody is going to be satisfied with every hybrid arrangement, because that's the world we live in, right? And according to, I think it was a survey within the article, it seems that especially to be true for millennials. And while leaders say Gen Xers and boomers generally prefer in-person meetings and that Gen Zers prefer virtual gatherings, they're less certain about millennials. With millennials, 44% of them saying that they prefer in-person, while only 35% say they prefer virtual meetings. So there's a little bit of like exhaustion when it comes to that virtual environment. And I think to bring it back to connect it to some of the other things that I've said, the point that I mentioned earlier about thriving off of relationships and establishing and fostering trust. So in my opinion, it's kind of like getting back to the basics almost, even though we've had all this advancement and all this technology that helps support kind of the menial tasks and the repetitive things. But we've got to get back to kind of establishing that in-person relationship and that trust.
Yeah, technology can't replace culture, right? And
Right.
so that's really one of the main areas where, obviously you can hear the passion in your voice here, and I know, some of the things, some of the initiatives that you've been doing. So, what are some of the things that organizations can do to really promote that culture, especially as it relates to inclusion, but also like productivity and innovation, and covering all those areas, even the back to basics things of what are meetings going to be like, what is my life going to be like as a millennial at this organization, or as a Gen Z, or whatever, and are there going to be other folks like me that I can be network with and have a part of my career.
Yeah. I've had the good fortune actually recently to be involved in my team and I to be involved in engaging people through survey, through our own internal efforts. So this is top of mind for us. So I'm able to take away something directly that we were able to get back from some of our teams. And some of the steps that stand out to me when building in a culture of inclusion, innovation, and productivity, as you mentioned, are connecting, listening, and collaborating. Like people, that's what they want. The work that we do is people centered. So when we talk about creating a culture that centers people, it requires us to first know our people. So that means creating opportunities for connection. And then everyone should be able to know their peers beyond their roles, and leaders should be accessible and understand what makes their colleagues tick. And this is kind of centered around the emotional intelligence space. And more often than not, it's people in your organization that don't feel visible and they won't feel like they're valued. And this is where listening plays a big role. And again, it seems so simple, like, oh, just I have to listen to someone. Like, no, if someone really like is listening to you and paying attention to the things that make them tick, or the things that through their lived experience have informed their decisions, that's when people start to engage. And then it's also important to engage DE&I initiatives from a learning perspective. This means, being prepared to learn that there are things that aren't effective for staff. So things that can be improved and things that you can continue to build on. But being defensive and trying to roll back DE&I initiatives, or even just coining the term DE&I is, very scary for some folks. It prevents really any effective listening from really occurring. And that helps us to learn and respond in a more effective and impactful way, I think. And then that third point I mentioned about collaboration. So all of those things, connection and listening, kind of lead to the collaboration part of it. Employees trust that their voices and contributions matter, the more that they're included in the decisions that impact their ability to work. And we've had some back and forth discussion about this internally. Not everyone can be included in all of the decisions, and sometimes it can impede maybe the ability to execute. But what we're talking about is how things are informed, and collaboration helps to not only keep the employee engaged, but it also allows them to see their contributions to the work and the mission of the organization. And it brings them into the big and the little picture of how your organization makes a difference.
Yeah, collaboration is a good, and the term transparency gets thrown around a lot also. And some of the pushback is usually like, well, they can't, like you said, like they can't know everything. There's certain things, right? And it's like, yeah, it's not an all or nothing proposition. Like, pick the things that need to be secret, but generally try to be as transparent as you can. I think it's a strong point that you made. And you mentioned surveys that your group runs, but surveying is another good way for organizations to try and gauge the temperature of their colleagues and their employees. But what are some of the other ways that people can kind of enhance that employee engagement? Are there certain programs that you've seen be successful with employees, or just initiatives that you've seen people run that do kind of focus on that connection or that listening or that collaboration?
Yeah, I touched on this briefly. It's something that we offer kind of at the industry level, but mentoring and sponsorship goes hand in hand, especially like as I mentioned, this multi-generational workforce. I think having people who maybe are not on face value connected, or maybe don't appear to have the same kind of lived experience, when we bring people together and we offer this opportunity for our employees as well as, like I said, at the industry level, having those one-on-one sessions, gathering people for listening sessions that aren't kind of like, they are a live form of a survey, if you will. I think the more and more you get people connecting to each other, the more that you find that we're more alike than we're different. And I think I even see interactions, because we exist in a hybrid environment. Not everybody is in the office at the same time on the same day. We have our core days where there's a large mass of people in there at the same time, but there's nothing like, whether it be like a sports thing or, anything that we can kind of unite on. And sometimes being in misery, I hate to say it that way, but, oftentimes when we're experiencing kind of like terrible things that happen, bringing people together to, pause work for a second. Let's talk about it. Let's work through it. Maybe sometimes we'll even bring in a consultant or someone else that maybe is outside of the organization to help us kind of foster that dialogue, has been really helpful. And it helps us kind of get through the day to day. I mean, obviously we're there to do a job and we have to execute on initiatives and strategies and, be profitable. But that people centered focus, I think it really will take you a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you share some specific success stories that you are particularly proud of, either internally or with some of your members, other organizations you've worked with?
Yeah, I want to take this time to kind of focus on our members, because we have a longstanding leadership awards specifically for DE&I program, and we put the spotlight squarely on our members that have found success in promoting DE&I as a priority, not only for their internal strategy, but also how they serve the marketplace. And if you'll allow me the opportunity, I want to briefly highlight two of our winners from our 2023 Residential Leadership Awards, specifically within that organizational category, because I think it really speaks volumes as to how kind of larger organizations really find success. I'll call out Fifth Third Bank, and they have their REEI initiative, and that acronym is Accelerating Racial Equality, Equity, and Inclusion. It's a mouthful. And they've divided it into 6 bold goals. And they are bridging gaps to ensure that their workforce diversity reflects the communities that they serve and the communities that they work in, building on their focus to create a greater sense of belonging among all employees. And they bring employees together to learn, connect, and share insights. And then they've made a point to be bold in boosting diversity in leadership positions. As of 2022, women and people of color represent half of their executive committee members and nearly 40% of their board of directors. And they're progressing in other organizational layers, including their top 100 management roles and branch and operational management. So I thought that was a wow moment right there. The other goals that they have, there's 2 more: broadening strong partnerships with diversity focused affinity groups. And we've taken a page from their book in that method. They partner with universities and other diverse organizations that have candidates that come straight from those particular organization, that helps to strengthen their talent pipeline. And that last kind of bold goal is bolstering employee listening opportunities to allow employees to speak candidly about inclusion and diversity at the bank, and for insights and sentiments to continue to inform their path forward. And they've completed, I think, over 40 sessions through last year, with 53 sessions planned for the next year. So they've really focused kind of on, they've gotten back to that people centered. So it reinforces the work that we're doing as well at MBA, is we're on the right track. And I think our other members too have benefited from that. And if you'll allow me just one more opportunity to highlight a 2023 winner, it's Radiant Guarantee. And over the past 2 years, Radiant has expanded its DE&I initiatives, and they've grown consistently in breadth and depth. And they've won an award before with us a few years ago And we have a moratorium on being able to apply for 2 years after you win. And so they applied right again after that 2 years was up. And they really do wow us. They've matured. They have this thing called Allyship Academy, and it allows them to pack an expansive assortment of DE&I learnings for employees into a broader program. And it lets them build upon their learnings by taking different DE&I courses and how to move to the next level of allyship and advocacy. And they put a strong emphasis in 2023 on neurodiversity. And they partnered with CAI Neurodiverse Solutions. It's an organization that has end-to-end neurodiversity employment programs. And they help organizations like Radian realize the benefits of neurodiversity.
Well, two strong winners.
Yeah.
So sounds like it was well deserved.
Yeah.
So thank you for highlighting them. And so, not that there's not enough work to do at the present, but we do want to also talk about a little bit about the future. So what do you see kind of in the future as it relates to the real estate finance sector? And how do you see the MBA kind of supporting that future for your members and, for the market in general?
Yeah. I'll say that strong interpersonal and emotional intelligence skills are a must. And I talked about that earlier. It isn't necessarily unique to our industry. I think this can apply to pretty much any industry. But the real estate industry, the real estate finance industry, rather, is driven by profits. But again, getting back to that people-centered part, because the industry impacts people where people work, where people live, right? And navigating such a volatile space can make it difficult to avoid outcomes that negatively impact people. So in times like these, especially, it's so important to have healthy ways that still prioritize the well-being of people. We talk about mental health. We talk about people having outlets to express emotions and kind of step away from the work part. And this is going to require more diversity that creates opportunities for people to connect with someone similar to their experiences, and the emotional intelligence part, which creates the ability to build relationships across those differences and beyond industry performance. And so those steps, I think, help keep people committed to the mission of our industry when they're valued beyond the outcomes that profit, right? The good or the bad. And those steps reaffirm that employees are part of a bigger mission and collaborative effort that makes a difference.
Emotional intelligence, striving every day. I think my wife would say I do an okay job, but
always work in progress, right?
That's right. Continuous improvement. That's what life is all about. So, well, thank you very much for all the information that you shared. Thank you very much for the passion that you have in what you're doing. At Phenom, we like to say we drink our own champagne, in that all the things that we sell and support our customers with, we also try to do internally. It also sounds like the MBA is in a very similar position where you're not just touting programs, but you're trying to run those programs internally as well. So, which is pretty compelling to hear. So I appreciate it. But before we leave, any parting advice that you would give to the folks who are listening in on this session?
Yeah, I think like I mentioned, DE&I it can be kind of a negative thing, right? A lot of people are rolling back and scaling back and dropping parts of the acronym to focus on the others. And I think it's kind of sending the wrong message. I'm not against rebranding at all, because I think that especially as an organization changes, you really still have to evaluate what's important and how it impacts your people. And so I think that's the other thing too, is that DE&I is not a one size fits all. I think a lot of organizations who entered into the space or on their DE&I journey kind of at the height of 2020, I think they're finding like, we really didn't go about this the right way. And in some cases, they're like, well, let's just abandon it because it doesn't make sense to us and too expensive and all of those things. But I think that sends the wrong message, because I think it sends the message that people aren't important and that their lived experiences aren't important, or that it doesn't impact the work that they do, especially again in financial services and the real estate finance industry. The work is the people. So people are going to have to trust people that look like them and maybe not even look like them, but we're going to have to build these bridges as opposed to tearing them down. And so I think when people are abandoning their efforts or maybe scaling back, it kind of creates that false narrative that that trust isn't necessary and that people aren't important and that let's just go about business as usual. And I think they're going to find themselves back right in the same position that they were prior to 2020. I work with and have been informed of how college students feel, entering the industry. It's scary for them. They're coming out of school thinking what's next and how do I really make an impact? And it really just isn't about kind of clocking in for a 9 to 5 anymore. They want to have passion and purpose in what they're doing. And yeah, being an accountant isn't necessarily a passionate career field, or being a mortgage underwriter isn't necessarily glitz and glamour. But I think when you get people back to how this can truly make a difference in someone's lives, that's where the purpose comes in. And that's what people entering the workforce and people who are currently in the workforce, that's what they want to do. They want to have passion and purpose beyond kind of that daily grind. And so I think the emphasis really does need to stay steadfast on DE&I initiatives.
Yeah, relationship building is hard. And it's hard, it's hard in the work that's being done for the real estate finance work. And it's hard internally for employees and their employers, right? But it's hard work that needs to be ongoing and built. And if you'll experiment with programs and they might not totally be what you wanted them to be, but I agree. It doesn't mean that let's put on the brakes and reevaluate everything. It's like, we understand that it's not going to be perfect first, but sometimes the effort is worth it. So I appreciate that. If there are folks on here who are interested in any additional resources that can help them get their programs off the ground, or like put a mentorship program in place, or any of the other initiatives that you kind of talked about, is there something available for them?
Of course, we stand at the ready to help folks. Our website has a variety of resources. That's mba.org/diversity. We offer a playbook. We offer a web-based course, and that's for all various parts of the journey of the DE&I journey that you have. We offer a scholarship. We offer a mentoring program, supplier diversity resources. So there's just a ton of information available to our members and non-members alike. That's the other thing. The beauty of all of this is, even though we cater to our membership base, we offer those same resources for non-members as well, just at a slight cost. But yeah, mba.org/diversity.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amber, for being with me today and for talking to us about everything that's going on with you and in the industry. Thank you so much to everybody who has listened in to this session. This is just the start of the day, so stay tuned, because you're actually going to hear from one of Phenom customers who is dealing with the idea of promoting culture and how that can be a challenge in the marketplace and how they're kind of overcoming that challenge. So enjoy that session, and everybody take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amber, for sharing your expertise on DE&I and financial services. Next, we have Ryan King from Regions Bank, who will share their transformative journey in reinventing their talent experience. Ryan is the Executive Vice President and Head of Talent Acquisition at Regions Bank, a leading regional bank headquartered in Birmingham, Alabama, providing retail and commercial banking, trust, securities, brokerage, mortgage, and insurance products and services. They are known for their strong community involvement and innovative approaches to financial services. Let's hear from Ryan about how Regions Bank transformed their brand and entire talent experience to attract, engage, and retain top talent.
I'm so excited to represent the financial services industry here at Phenom Industry Week to discuss our challenges, our solutions and strategies to overcome those challenges, and what the future may look like for all of us from a talent acquisition perspective. Regions Bank is a super regional financial institution headquartered in Birmingham, Alabama. We're a top 20 bank in total deposits, a top 25 bank in total assets. We have roughly 20,000 associates and 1,300 branches across 15 states. Our talent acquisition team is 55 people strong, and our team has the responsibility for all external talent acquisition efforts and facilitating the internal mobility that occurs within the bank. We average roughly 7,000 hiring transactions per year. Our time to fill from the time a requisition is open until the new hire starts is 53.4 days. So we're really excited about those metrics. I started with the bank in May of 2017. And at that time, Regions was in the middle of centralizing our entire organization and our HR model to include the creation of a centralized talent acquisition team. Prior to 2017, talent acquisition at Regions didn't exist. The challenge we faced was pretty simple to describe. How do we, or how could we, create efficiency through TA Tech and capitalize on the brand of the company? The company had a very simplistic career site that consisted of pictures and links to benefits and compliance information. The jobs listing was basically a report from our HCM system of requisitions posted on our external site as well as our internal career site. We had no measurable candidate experience at all. Everything was static and bland. Our career site had zero functionality, with no ability to capture leads or to engage and communicate with candidates. The recruiting team didn't have a CRM, and this prohibited us from having any sort of identity with the external candidate population. We had and have a great brand, solid reputation. We're financially strong with impeccable culture of putting people first, strong mission and values, all of the critical components that make up a strong employee value proposition and employer brand. It's like we had all the parts to an expensive sports car, but with zero capability to get the car put together in the garage and out on the road. Through our annual TA strategic planning process, we set out to find a solution. Our solution and hopeful strategy was simple. Did TA technology or innovation exist to solve our problems? If so, how could we implement and conduct the change management necessary to achieve more efficient success? I met with a company called Phenom People at a conference in 2018. And honestly, I've told the story 1,000 times. The only reason I met with Phenom People was because I thought they had a cool name. I quickly learned about their expertise regarding career sites and candidate experience. We went back and forth for 2 long years, and I'm thankful every day that they didn't give up on us. We finally signed our first contract in the fall of 2020 and went through discovery and implementation right through the middle of a global pandemic. We implemented candidate experience, so the external piece, in the first quarter of 2021, and then quickly started discovery and implementation for employee experience, which went live at the same time the next year. Our Phenom Coaches program was formed during this time, and this allowed for us to ensure adoption, which is critical, of this new technology. Hosted Apply and two-way hiring status went live in July of 2023, and interview scheduling has just gone live at the beginning of this month. This has been a long journey, but so worth it. As a result of all of this, we now have a completely reconstructed, rebranded, dynamic internal and external career site that we also own creative authority over. We've built multiple landing pages and microsites for the various business groups within our organization. We utilize chatbot functionality on our career site, which I once thought was a pipe dream a short 3 years ago. We have a thriving talent community of leads, candidates, and applicants that we engage with to help them find the perfect opportunity at Regions. We have a laundry list of active campaigns and automations in place to keep a steady flow of warm leads in front of our talent acquisition partners. Simply put, we are able to hire more people and faster than ever before. Lastly, for a company that a short 3 years ago had no marketable employer brand or platform to share, we were recently recognized by the American Banker for our advancements in employer branding and have finished at the top or near the top in the last 3 years in a row for the financial services category of the candidate experience audit that Phenom produces. Honestly, I'm not sure that we would have survived without the Phenom functionality and our partnership. We're also solving critical business challenges through recruitment automation. We learned quickly through our Phenom analytics that leads and candidates wanted us to communicate often about our culture, but TA can't be the sole brand champion. Our TA team and the entire organization are now considered talent marketers. We all own the responsibility of delivering our employee value prop to the external candidate audience. Every business strategy moving forward must take TA marketing of the EVP and people strategies into consideration. We also now have buy-in from marketing and communications, which is critically important. Our job category pages and microsite strategies have allowed us to share more in-depth information with job seekers about what it's like to work in our different business groups. We're able to engage and convert distinct candidate pools through recurring campaigns, such as asking people to join our talent community, nudging leads to finish their application or even start their application, nudging referrals to do the same, to apply and to finish their application. From the business perspective, we're able to automate assessment conversion through sending assessment reminders, through auto-tagging candidates who pass the assessment in our CRM, through communicating to those who have an incomplete assessment, asking them to finish, and also communicating with those people that have failed the assessment, encouraging them to come back and complete the assessment once again. Our career site is now best in class for candidate experience. We've leveraged AI to provide an optimized candidate experience that keeps warm candidates in our funnel. Career site visits for us now average roughly 80,000 per month, 108,000 in 2024 alone. And 66% of those are first-time career site visitors for us. We have consistent applicant flow. We average historically 16,000 applicants a month, 21,000 a month in 2024, and that is more than enough for us to meet our hiring demand. So looking ahead, where do we go now? Are there HR or even company challenges that we'll face with TA tech evolution and AI? At Regions, we'll continue to challenge the status quo as we move forward from a strategic roadmap perspective. I believe we still have a ton of efficiency to be gained in our recruiting process, from candidate generation to selection for interview to the actual interview process itself. These are all areas that we're focusing on right now at this very moment. For instance, our team is going to capitalize on the most recent interview scheduler implementation to completely blow up the interview process at the bank and create a new one. We're gathering later this month for our annual Talent Acquisition Summit and are planning to spend an entire day in a design thinking workshop to overhaul this critical part of our recruiting process. Don't tell them, though, because they don't know this yet. From an AI perspective, there's still a ton of internal education that needs to occur. We as an organization have come such a long way, but still have many hurdles to overcome. The TA leadership team has been thrust into the subject matter expert category as it relates to HR and AI. And I'm not sure that's the right place for that expertise to sit, but I can't emphasize enough the importance of truly understanding your vendor's AI capabilities. The partnership with your risk and compliance organization will be greatly enhanced if you're the expert in the room. In closing, we've rebranded ourselves as a more approachable employer to tap into new, diverse talent pools. Key to this effort was revitalizing our career site to provide candidates with a seamless, personalized experience. We are replacing time-consuming manual processes through a comprehensive talent acquisition strategy and through system innovation. The result of this top-to-bottom TA tech stack makeover equates to more hires, faster hires, and literally thousands of pre-qualified candidates to choose from. When a job seeker enters the career site, they quickly learn about our culture, our mission, and our values. One of our core values is to put people first. When you pair a strong corporate culture with a mission aimed at making life better, the result can be outstanding. Our talent acquisition team at Regions believes we are doing just that. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen, and please reach out to me directly with any further questions. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, Ryan, for that awesome overview of your journey and the insights you shared. Now, let's hear about the technology that's available to help our financial services companies execute on some of the strategies Amber and Ryan covered. Our experts will discuss employer brand and omnichannel reach, workforce intelligence for financial services upskilling and talent planning, and the responsible adoption of AI in HR processes with a focus on AI governance and compliance. Let's get started.
So the consumer experience for the finance industry has drastically changed. It has changed because everything has revolutionized and digitized. It is completely omni-channel. To bank, to deposit a check, to pay for your mortgage, to invest in the stock market. But what hasn't changed for a lot of organizations is their candidate experience. But companies are now realizing they need to digitize that. Companies such as Regions. And what they have realized that they need to do, because the supply of talent is not infinite and the demand is high, but the demand also is unique. Because before, you would have to recruit for financial analysts and individuals in the banking industry, but now they are competing for software engineers, BI individuals, machine learning, and such. So how are companies such as Regions being able to reduce their time to fill, increase their candidate experience, and make it completely digitized? They're doing that with partnering with Phenom. So companies such as Regions and MasterCard and so many others, to name a few, are partnering with Phenom to have the most incredible, intelligent talent experience. It's going to sit on top of their ATS, and what's going to do is utilize AI to engage with talent, where they are, what they use, and what their skills are. So within this forefront and in this career site technology, every time they engage within the career site, just like AI, it will learn about them, build a digital fingerprint, and make sure that it is recommending jobs based on their skills, their experience, and location. But the other big needle mover is it's actually giving individuals the ability to become a lead. Without this technology, most companies only have truly two options for candidates: apply to a job or completely abort the entire experience. But that's not what job seekers do. That's not what consumers do. This is building a consumer-grade experience where it allows you to engage with the content, engage with the jobs, and come back. There's 7+ different ways to be able to capture leads. Of course, it is CCPA GDPR compliant. But it is making sure that either you can upload your resume and be matched to jobs based on your skills, experience, and locale. It gives you the ability to save this job to a shopping cart. That gets me every time. Or even engage with events as well. So let's talk about that. Within the financial industry, companies such as Regions also found out they needed to have a multi-pronged approach that's also still omni-channel. They needed to have an approach for individuals that are ready to make a shift. Also, individuals that are just doing research before they make that shift. That's where those leads come in. Again, on average, our clients are getting 27 new leads per job. Those people that engage with the job but don't fully apply. But they're also now building emerging talent programs for early career individuals to make sure we're filling in every hole in the leaky bucket of TA when it comes to recruiting. So now individuals that engage with this content are going to be able to see internship jobs, early career jobs, and even engage in those programs and those early opportunities. But on top of that, we also know that DE&I is one of the biggest priorities when it comes to the financial industry. So within our content management system, these clients are able to create unlimited content, blogs, videos, and pages to engage also with individuals within their DE&I experience. They could, of course, even have content for military experience, how it impacts their work, hear from the day in the life of incredible individuals such as Robert, and truly engage with content that is mission critical to them. But even more on top of that is allowing individuals to have a skills-based approach, not just with their resume or their LinkedIn profile, but also within their MOS, Army, Navy, Marine, taking those codes when they were incredible and served our country, identifying what were the skills they obtained and matching them to jobs within your organization. Super quick and easy way to do that. It'll automatically take those skills and match them to jobs right away within the org. So what does this do? It increases talent, diverse school of thought, early careers, even has event management where we could continue to grow your funnel. One of the biggest takeaways here is, again, this is omni-channel, but it's also vendor consolidation. So now our clients and their recruiters and TA team could have their own pipeline of applicants, pipeline of partial applicants, pipeline of leads, individuals that engaged in their job and didn't apply, event registrants, early career interest, military, occupational, Army, and such, all of these individuals in one always on candidate relationship management tool. So what do I mean by always on? Well, this omni-channel outreach isn't just on the candidate experience right when they come in contact with a job, but it's throughout the entire recruitment process. So what else our clients are doing is engaging with this talent through always on emailing that is utilizing generative AI to help, always on SMS, always on campaigns that could be drip marketing campaigns, that's SMS and email. And all of these could be pre-built with drag and drop widgets for any type of scenario. Maybe they attended an event, registered for an event. We interviewed them at the event. Maybe they started the application but dropped off. Maybe they're in our interview process and passed with flying colors and we want to move them to the next stage in the process. Any of those scenarios and so many more, our clients are utilizing to build always on nurturing campaigns. But they could be so specific that it could be broken down by automation recipes. Maybe every time you evaluate someone and you want the hiring managers to evaluate them next. or every time, again, someone was initiated for a screen, you want them to be nurtured. There's an upcoming interview event and you want to remind them. So outreach is always on, it's configurable, and it is absolutely omni-channel. So the whole goal is to keep talent engaged from the minute they find your job all the way through to hired. And that is how our clients have been able to reduce their time to fill and absolutely reduce their cost per hire. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Ilona, I'm out of the Netherlands and I'm going to talk to you about skills, upskilling, reskilling, and how we can get your employees into the driver's seat to drive their own careers. So how we will do that is I'm going to walk you through talent management and the intelligence behind that with the Phenom platform. In this instance, we have three main personas, which are the employee, the HR person, and the people manager, because they are all involved in that talent journey. So the foundation for that is skills. We need skills to understand what our talent is in our company and how we can make sure that that talent is at the right place at the right time. So Phenom considers 5 steps to success, because Phenom already analyzed tons of data. We have Phenom out-of-the-box data that we can bring to you as a company from day one, which means that you will not have to start from scratch. You do not have to work with Excel sheets for skill frameworks or whatsoever. It's already there, analyzed for the past 15 years. But of course, to add your context layer on top of that, we are going to integrate with your HR tech stack. So that could be your ATS, your HCM, maybe learning management systems, as well as any skill information that you might already have in other systems or in those spreadsheets. And that information is going to make sure that eventually you will have your own skill ontology. And that skill ontology will help you to define where you have to go with your workforce and how to make sure that everybody is on that right seat. So let's dive into it. So to give your employees access to their skills and their growth opportunities at your company, we developed our employee experience. And that employee experience is starting right here. It's personalized and it's automated. So I have my personalized dashboard right here based on my profile and based on my preferences, but also based on the number of months I've been working for your company. Because let's be real, if I just started working here, I'm probably not interested in another job. I'm probably more interested in learning more skills, meeting other people, or maybe finding a mentor that can guide me through my career. How that works? From day one, I already have my profile, because this profile is filled with information that actually comes from the HCM system. So it's already there. And as I just mentioned, the Phenom skill ontology is already there to provide skills to me as an employee. But there's more to it. We all know that it's hard for employees to define their skills. If I'm asking you now, what are your skills? It's a pretty hard question to answer. So we're helping them automate that by either adding their resume, maybe a LinkedIn profile, and then once the employee does that, the skill profile will be developed. So automatically, I now have my skills established for me, which can help me to guide my career. Based on that, as well as my preferences, I now have my personalized profile, which provides me with job recommendations, career pathing options. I can refer candidates, I can find mentors, find learning, as well as gigs, which are short-term projects. So now we have everything that I need to get ready for either that next step or upskill myself in my current role. But maybe I want to know more, right? Maybe I want to understand, hey, what do I actually have to do to get ready for that next role, or maybe to have a target role for myself? And now the AI will tell me exactly based on my skills, what I have to do to get to that role, as well as, hey, maybe there are other roles in other job categories that might be a good fit for you based on your skills, because we want to move away from that job title instance. Which means that based on skills, I immediately understand, hey, these are the roles I could actually grow into, as well as these are the skill and competency gaps that I currently have. And this is where the platform will tell me exactly what I have to do to upskill myself. So this could mean learning material coming from your LMS systems. It could be mentors. It could be a gig I have to do. But now I know exactly what I have to do to get ready for that next step. Which is making sure that your employees know what to do. In our research, we found out that 60% of people are leaving companies because they don't know what kind of growth opportunities they have. So imagine what you can accomplish if you actually provide all those different opportunities to your employees at any given time. But let's now dive into the HR perspective. Your HR teams want to understand, what are the skills of my company? How can I evolve my workforce? How can I make sure that people understand what kind of skills they have today, but also how can I help them to learn more skills tomorrow? And that's exactly what the Workforce Intelligence Platform will do. So as I said, we already have the Phenom out-of-the-box data, but we will add your context layer on top of that, which means that all your roles are available for you here. All the skills in your company automatically defined by the AI, as well as all your employee data. And that data combined will provide you the insights that you need. For instance, for this data analyst role, which is so important in our finance industry, we know exactly what the skills are that are associated to this role. And the source could be different, right? It could be the Phenom out-of-the-box data. It could be your employee data. It could be your role data. It could be your learning data. All the data combined will provide you that personalized ontology that you need to understand all the talent in your company. Of course, I can make changes now. I can start making changes here, add skills, remove skills. It's all very flexible. However, the interesting thing is this already gives me the perfect foundation to start working on growing our company in that skill-based organization. For instance, it understands progressions, right? So what kind of progressions do we see? Which could be a very logical step. Maybe from data analyst, I'm going to a senior data analyst. It could also be a step that is horizontal, right? Where it could be a step in a different job category that I'm currently working in. And as you can see, it will start giving good fit or potential fit scores based on that data that we already analyzed. So that gives you, as an HR professional, all the right information to start working on your workforce. So what do I know now? As an HR professional, I now understand what my current workforce looks like, what are all the roles and the skills in my company, and how many skills do our employees actually have. So that brings me enough data to understand the skill gaps in our organization. So for instance, if we have skill gaps in our leadership roles, I want to understand everything. I want to understand, okay, how many employees do have that skill gap? Do we actually provide any learning opportunities to fill that skill gap? By any gigs or maybe mentors or any courses for this skill? So now I can actually start understanding how I can upskill those 42 people who have that skill gap. I can immediately create a learning plan right here in the campaign section, send them a campaign with all the learning material they can do, which contains courses, mentors, and gigs or other opportunities so that our employees know exactly where to go and what to do. So this is a very proactive way to improve learning in your company. Okay, so let's make this practical. We are a finance company and we want to grow our marketing team because we're digitalizing our whole company. Consumer communication is becoming way more important. So we need to establish this marketing team better. If we want to grow this team, I want to have all the insights I need to make sure that we're doing the right things. So with one click on the role, I understand how many people we have in this role. It is a critical role. There is quite some attrition. We hired 3 people, which is a decrease, but we also understand the top skills in this role. We know what kind of growth opportunities we have, if that's well established, as well as maybe skills that we do not have yet in this workforce, but we might need in the future. And that's where I can look into more, right? So do we have people that are ready to move? So do we have people that have this role in their career plan? So maybe people from other business lines or people who are currently not working in a marketing role, but do have the right skills to grow there. So, hey, I have 13 people that are actually interested to learn more and to grow into a marketing manager role. So I can either come up with a learning plan for those 13 people, or if I have to hire right now because I have to grow this company as soon as possible, I now also have all the information available for me that I need to understand how long it will take us to fill these roles. If we already have interesting candidates in our CRM that could be a good match to the role, and what kind of skills we need to focus on, because these are the skills that are currently missing in our company that we now need to hire externally. And that gives me a full overview of the buy, borrow, build principle. So do I need to hire them externally? Can I actually upskill my current people? Or do I have enough people that are already doing this role? And that gives you the power as an HR person to grow your workforce and get it future ready. The last persona is the people manager. The people manager is, of course, a very important person in this talent journey because they are talking to the team members on a daily basis. So we want to give your team, your people managers, the power to understand their skills in their team, maybe the skill gaps in their team, as well as potential to upskill their team. So the AI will provide the exact information that the people manager needs to upskill their team, as well as team members. So maybe I have a conversation with Hannah tomorrow and I want to help her in her career because she's for quite some time in her current role. She is a consistent top performer and she's already doing quite some learning. So the AI will provide me insights that can help me as a manager to help Hannah in her career. So maybe she could become a mentor to also learn more about leadership skills. Or maybe she has a few skill gaps that I can help her with. So those skill gaps are insightful for me because I now know, hey, these are the skills that she actually needs based on her role description. But in some skills, she doesn't have the right level yet. So I can help her with that, right? I can also get recommendations for career paths for Hannah. So even though she hasn't established her own career path yet, the AI will help me defining a skill path for her so I can use that information in my one-on-one conversations with her. So that's how we are going to build our teams, and we give all the people managers the power to use the right data at the right time so they can grow their teams and they have the right skills in their teams available. So now your organization has all the right information to get ready for the future because you understand your skills that you need, the skills that you don't have yet, and all the personas have the right information at the right time. So your employees are ready for the future because they know how to grow. Your HR teams have all the right information to work on their workforce and to get them ready for the future. And your people managers can help their individual team members in their career as well. And that's how we're making sure that the retention rates are perfectly fine and people will never leave your company again because they don't feel like there are any career opportunities internally.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Morrow, our Vice President of Strategy here at Phenom. And we heard from Ryan King with Regions about how to really make your brand stand out and some of the challenges for financial institutions when doing so with such a crowded marketplace. We also heard from Amber from the Mortgage Bankers Association about the pace at which skills are shifting in the financial industry. But at Phenom, we understand that the financial industry itself comes with many unique aspects that provide both opportunities and challenges for attracting and retaining talent. So we know that in the financial industry, there has been a lot of exponential change, that skills are specializing far faster than in other industries. And the pace at which technology has to evolve, particularly on the consumer side of the business, is just absolutely exceeding any pace of change that we've seen before. But unique to the financial institutions and other similar spaces are the increased security and compliance restrictions and regulations. So between regulatory compliance and the increased need for risk management expertise, we know that that is also providing some additional layers of caution and an increased need to really understand what technology is being leveraged and how that technology works. So let's explore those just a bit further. So not surprisingly, when we're talking about the skills and the shifts in skills here in the financial space, it's not surprising that traditional sales and transactional processes and the skills associated with that are on the decline, because we know that banks and other financial institutions are really required to meet the needs of the consumers and creating a world-class experience from start to finish for them. And that means with or without any human interaction. And so to handle and promote this shift, companies are really investing in skills devoted to creating that experience. And that's really driving the need for a lot more technical skills in order to implement those technologies like chatbots in order to create those effective and overarching roles that really provide that end-to-end customer journey that meets the expectations. But on the flip side of that, we're also seeing a lot of need to innovate, digitize, and probably what's really top of mind, protecting those online services. And so as a result, the increased needs in both the skills as it relates to cybersecurity, but also the restrictions and the cautions that are being taken are increased now more than ever. But I think it's important to remember that the financial industry has really been, not just now, but has been really leading the way in AI, both adoption as well as investment. So it's not surprising that the financial sector continues to lead the charge in funding AI innovation, both in the usage of AI as well as the investments and the support that this industry itself has provided to AI-based technologies and companies. And so financial institutions are projected to double their AI spending by 2027. And that really represents a 29% compound annual growth rate. Meanwhile, venture capital investments in AI over the last 5 years have exceeded 290 billion. And so it's really important to remember that it's this industry that really has been the front runner of AI innovation. And the reasons why the financial industry has really been leaning into the world of AI technology was really initially to benefit the consumers and that consumer experience, to provide more personalization, more opportunities to generate new business, to improve the customer experience, to create operational efficiencies and effectively return those operational efficiencies back into funding into the business, and also to enhance the level of analytics and data and insights that these technologies have provided. But then when we lean into or think about leaning into the same type of technology in the talent space, we can see that the benefits actually are quite similar. We can increase the level of personalization to get that brand front and center, as Ryan mentioned, to those potential candidates. We can convert leads to applicants and generate more interest, moving them from passive to more active and pulling them through the funnel faster using this technology. We can improve the candidate experience end to end. We can also, by increasing the amount of productivity, generate a lot of those same operational efficiencies. And then, of course, because with AI, so many things are able to be tracked in a more specific and vast way than I've ever thought possible, then we're also able to increase the analytics, the data, and the insights to really understand more than ever what's working and what's not across the ways that we are hiring as well as retaining that talent. But I think what's really unique about the financial industry is really this hyper awareness with very good reason for the increased levels of security and compliance. And we know that 73% of financial services companies expect their compliance costs to rise this year with all of the ever changing regulations, I think both in the consumer space or the business side of the house, as well as from the candidate side. It really yields this additional need to be as cautious as possible with the information as well as the technology that's being leveraged to accomplish the whatever that job is, whether that's hiring people or retaining people. So across the business, there is an additional and understandable level of scrutiny. So as a result, 87% of executives that we've interacted with or surveyed are concerned with ensuring compliance with diverse and often changing regulations globally. And that adds an additional layer of complexity to international and local recruitment efforts. But if we think about it, again, because the financial industry has really been the front runner of adopting and leveraging, as well as investing in AI, this technology is something that all financial institutions and everyone in this space has already been using for a long time. And so when we're really thinking about the layer of or the actual components of AI that are concerning, the ones that are coming up most often is really generative AI there at the center, because deep learning, neural networks, machine learning, and traditional AI have been leveraged for years. But generative AI is actually the newest and least used to date component of AI. So I think it is important to remember, one, that this technology is not actually new, particularly in this industry. And much of the AI, including that we do here, that we leverage here at Phenom, is also configurable. So as laws and regulations continue to change, then should the need for components of this technology be turned off, then we have the ability to support in that. And that really allows then for more defensibility, more transparency, all the while really personalizing and opening up the skill sets to better match any type of candidate that is a potential match to that job, rather than hoping that the right candidate happens to apply. So as a result, there tends to be, or has an opportunity to be, less bias in the process and an increased ability to comply with these evolving regulations. We actually had the opportunity to connect with and hear from Keith Sonderling, the EEOC commissioner, and I love this quote from Keith, where he says, if AI is carefully designed and properly used, we now have much more transparency in the hiring process. And this can help organizations disprove discrimination as well. And now is the time to begin using them. And so if we all understand that now is the time, and the financial industry continues to lead the way as the front runner of adopting and investing in AI, then the how becomes really important. And so as you're evaluating technology that leverages AI, it's important to understand what AI is being used, where it is in the process, and what is going on behind the scenes to help ensure and monitor for any adverse impact or bias. And so here at Phenom, we have our AI guiding principles. The first and foremost of those is really making sure that humans stay in the loop, meaning that the technology is there to support their efforts and to surface and make recommendations, but it is ultimately the person with their unique skill set that is actioning and deciding on next steps to take with any given candidate or employee in the process. That helps us to adhere to our social mission of helping 1 billion people find the right work. We have an entire team of people, as well as very advanced technology, that helps us to monitor for and avoid creating or reinforcing bias. And it's really important here that any AI or any technology, frankly, that we are leveraging is adaptable, is inclusive, is explainable, and it's configurable. And last but certainly not least, that it is designed with privacy in mind, so that the data that we are leveraging in order to produce these experiences does not contain any information that could be seen as problematic, bias, or creating unnecessary risk. Now, we have a lot of publications and a lot of thought leadership that we can point you to, and you'll see a QR code here for our landing page to get you started with some of those resources. But it's important that because we've been an AI-based platform for so many years, that we've been thinking about this for a long time, and of course will continue to stay at the very front of the ever-changing rules, regulations, and even market trends that are dictating some of these changes that are happening. And so we're very proactive in nature, and we're always looking out for and preparing to mitigate these changes that organizations and industries, particularly those under a heightened level of scrutiny for risk and compliance, stay protected. And one of those thought leadership pieces is our AI governance framework that is adapted from the World Economic Forum. And it helps us understand how probable an event is, as well as how severe. And this really helps us think about, for the AI practices that we roll out, as well as the technology to support them, how to perform risk assessment, as well as to manage how we manage that risk by building various monitoring tools and mitigation procedures, both which customers and us have access to here at Phenom. With a lot of the new AI regulations, including but not limited to New York 144, there is a need for third-party and outside auditing. And so we're very happy to share that the most recent FitScore audit report that was conducted by a third party on our behalf showed statistically that FitScore is unlikely to introduce or worsen adverse impact during the interview stage of an employee decision process. And so the results have been very positive, and we're happy to share those results with you. And so in closing, I think that it's helpful to understand the importance and the value of really being in the talent space the subject matter expert of AI. The more that, as Ryan mentioned, the more that we really lean into what type of AI is being used as we're evaluating it, how and where it is going to be used, the expected results, what efforts, what process, what redundancies is this technology expected to replace or complement or enhance? And also, really critically, how is that technology being monitored? And so with talent, the talent teams, both acquisition and retention, really leaning into AI and becoming the subject matter expert, it stands to not only benefit that department in a huge way, but because of the critical nature of this department to the health of the business, it also stands to benefit the business as well. Thank you.
Well, that brings us to the end of Phenom Industry Week 2024. As we wrap up, from all of us at Phenom, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of our customers, industry ambassadors, and especially to you, our audience, for joining us on this insightful journey. We hope these sessions have empowered you to tackle your unique HR challenges head on and drive meaningful change within your teams and your companies. Today, the Phenom team showed you how you can improve your employer brand and drive omni-channel campaigns using the Phenom Candidate Experience, how to leverage Phenom Workforce Intelligence for upskilling and reskilling and proactive talent planning, and how your HR teams can use AI to increase security and compliance. If you want a deeper dive on any of the products mentioned today, schedule a conversation with our team at phenom.com. We are here to personally walk you through any of your questions. I encourage you to revisit these sessions and share them with your colleagues and continue the conversation within your organization. In about an hour, all sessions from today will be available on demand, providing you with the flexibility to watch and rewatch at your convenience. Check out all the other sessions from this week too. Thank you for being a part of this incredible week. Together, we are shaping the future of HR and driving progress across industries. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you at Phenom AI Day later this fall. Together, let's continue to drive innovation and excellence in HR.